I knew my sister's wedding would change everything the second I walked into the hotel ballroom, holding my bodyguard's hand, and realized everyone thought I had brought my boyfriend. My name is Julia Rossi. Most people in New York do not say my first name. They say Ms. Rossi, with careful eyes and careful voices. Tonight, they were not careful. Tonight, they stared. The ballroom was all glass and gold, soft lights hanging from the ceiling, a live band in the corner, round tables covered in white linen. It was the kind of place where normal families celebrated love and took pretty pictures. I did not have a normal family. I had a powerful one, connected, feared. And next to me, in a black suit that could never hide his tattoos or his broad shoulders, walked the man who made half of my world nervous, Logan Carter. His hand closed around mine, warm and steady. He did it to guide me down the last marble steps that led into the ballroom, but he did not let go when we reached the polished floor. I felt every stare land on us. The music did not stop, but the room felt slower. Whispers started. "Is that him?" Someone murmured to my left. "That's her security guy, right?" Another voice said. "He's huge. Look at his hands." Someone else added. Logan heard them. His jaw flexed for half a second, and then he focused on me again, his voice low near my ear. "You still have time to change your mind," he said. "I can fade into the background." I tightened my fingers around his. "No. Tonight, you are with me." His brown eyes locked with my green ones for a brief moment. There was a question in his gaze, one I refused to answer. Instead, I smiled like I did in business meetings when I wanted everyone to believe I was fully in control. I was not. My sister, Sienna, saw us first. She stood near the head table in a white lace wedding dress, her blonde hair in a loose updo, her groom beside her, already in love with this very loud, very complicated Italian-American family he was marrying into. When Sienna's eyes fell on Logan and me, her mouth opened slightly. Oh no. She grabbed her bouquet tighter and rushed toward us, the skirt of her dress moving around her legs as she walked. Her groom, Daniel, followed with a confused smile. "Julia," Sienna said, reaching me and hugging me with one arm, careful not to crush her dress. She pulled back and looked at Logan again. And, Logan. Logan gave a small nod. "Congratulations, Sienna. You look beautiful." He was always respectful with her, always polite. Sienna liked him. She just did not know what to do with him at a family wedding. Sienna's eyes dropped to our linked hands. Her brows lifted. I pulled my hand back slowly, as if it was no big deal. "We were coming down the stairs," I said. He was making sure I didn't break my ankle in these shoes. Dark green silk hugged my body. The dress fitted to my waist and hips before opening just enough to let me walk. My black hair was down, brushed straight, falling over my shoulders. I knew how I looked. I always did. Mafia queen. Controlled. Untouchable. But next to Logan, I suddenly felt. Noticed. Sienna smiled, but there was too much curiosity in her gaze. "Of course," she said. "Well, I'm glad you're here, both of you. Everyone's been asking if you'd come with someone." There it was, the question I wanted to avoid. Daniel moved in closer, shaking Logan's hand. "Man, thanks for keeping her safe. I know you deal with a lot." "Just doing my job," Logan said. I hated that word tonight. Job. More relatives started to approach. Aunts in elegant dresses, uncles in dark suits, cousins, friends of the family. They gathered around us like we were an exhibit everyone had waited to see. "Julia, amore, you look stunning," Aunt Rosa said, leaning in to kiss my cheeks. Her eyes shifted to Logan. "And who is this?" I felt the room pressing in. If I said my security, they would start asking about business, about politics, about things I refused to bring into my sister's wedding. There would be questions about territories, shipments, alliances. I would drag the underworld into Sienna's big day. I would not let that happen. I straightened my shoulders. "This is Logan," I said. "He's with me." Aunt Rosa's eyes narrowed slightly. "With you how exactly?" "As my date," I said. The words came out easier than I expected. They hung in the air like a dropped glass. Silence. Even the band seemed to soften for a second. I felt Logan's body still next to mine. His fingers twitched at his side. I did not look at him. I kept my eyes on my relatives and held my chin high. Then the whispers exploded. "As her date? I thought he worked for her. Did you see his tattoos? He's handsome, though. Dangerous type. She brought her bodyguard as a boyfriend?" I gave them nothing. No explanation, no smile, no denial. Daniel cleared his throat. "Well, we're happy you're here, man," he told Logan, trying to be the peacemaker that Sienna loved. "Come on, there's food, drinks, everything. Make yourselves comfortable." Sienna gave me a quick, sharp look full of questions and then let it go. For now. She returned to her groom's side, and they moved back toward the head table as the band started a soft song. The crowd slowly spread out again, but the eyes did not stop following us. Logan stepped closer, his voice low near my ear. "You didn't have to say that," he said. "Yes, I did," I answered. "If they think you're just my security, they will want to talk about work. I don't want that tonight." "There were other ways," he said. "Maybe," I replied, "but I chose this one." He studied my profile for a moment. I could feel his gaze on my cheek, my lips, my throat. It made my skin feel too tight. "Does it bother you?" I asked softly. "Being my date?" His lips curved a little. "No," he said. "It doesn't bother me." My heart skipped once, just enough for me to feel it. We moved through the ballroom together. He walked half a step behind me, like always. His eyes scanning exits, checking faces, watching movements. He was dressed in a black suit that fit his tall, strong frame too well. The jacket could not hide the ink on his forearms when the cuffs shifted. His slightly long dark hair brushed his collar. His tanned skin contrasted with the white shirt under his jacket, and the top button was undone, showing the start of a tattoo at his collarbone. I heard two women at the bar whisper, "Look at him. Is he really her boyfriend?" "I don't know, but if he is, she's very lucky." Lucky. No one ever used that word about me. We reached our table near the front. It was decorated with white roses and small candles. A place card with my name, Julia Rossi, sat in front of the chair. Next to it, one with his name, Logan Carter. Sienna had put him at my side on purpose. I smiled. She had no idea what she was starting. Logan pulled out my chair before I could do it myself. I sat, smoothing my dress, and he took the seat beside me. "You're tense," he said quietly. "I am not tense," I lied. His fingers brushed my wrist under the table. It was a small touch, quick, but my pulse jumped. He felt it. "You're always calm when something goes wrong in the streets," he said. "But put you in a ballroom with your family and you're ready to run." "You know too much," I said. "It's my job to know," he replied. I turned my head and looked at him directly. "Is it?" I asked. "Only your job?" His eyes darkened a little, a softness mixing with the usual alertness. He opened his mouth to answer, but my Uncle Lorenzo dropped into the chair across from us, already with a drink in his hand. "Julia," he said loudly, grinning. "You actually came. And you brought this." Logan's shoulders straightened a little. He remained polite, but I saw the shift. Protection mode. "You remember Logan," I said. "We've worked together for a while." Sure, Uncle Lorenzo said, waving his hand. "The shadow, the one who follows you around every time we meet. I didn't know he was part of the family now." "He is my guest," I said. "Your guest," my uncle repeated, eyes sharp. "Is that what we're calling it?" I held his gaze. "Yes." There was a small pause. Then Lorenzo laughed and shook his head. "Well, at least he looks like he can handle trouble," he said. God knows you attract enough of it. He pointed his glass at Logan. You better take good care of her, kid. I already do, Logan said calmly. There was something in his tone that made my uncle raise a brow. It was not arrogance. It was certainty. The band started playing louder as waiters brought plates of food. Toasts began. People laughed. Sienna and Daniel danced their first dance in the center of the room, and the atmosphere softened again. I tried to focus on my sister, on how genuinely happy she looked. No shadows, no secrets. She was marrying a man who worked with software and numbers and normal office problems. He did not know anything about the deals hidden behind some of the Rossi family businesses. Sienna would live a clean life with him. That had been my promise. I felt Logan's eyes on me again. What? I asked without looking away from the dance floor. You're somewhere else, he said. I'm watching my sister, I replied. I promised her this. A normal husband, a normal life. No one using her for leverage. No one threatening her because of me. You kept that promise, Logan said. For now, I answered. He leaned in, his breath warm near my ear. Stop thinking about threats for one night, Julia. Easy for you to say, I whispered back. You're not the one with a target on your back. His hand slid under the table, resting lightly on my knee. The touch was firm, but careful. I sucked in a quiet breath. That target is exactly why I'm here, he said. Anyone even thinks about getting close to you tonight, they'll rethink their life choices very fast. I almost smiled. He had that effect on me. One sentence, and the pressure in my chest loosened. Besides, he added, his thumb brushing the side of my knee through the fabric of my dress. They're all too busy staring at us. I glanced around. He was right. More than one pair of eyes watched our table. Some curious, some disapproving, some almost entertained. Let them talk. After the main course, the band invited couples to the dance floor. The lights dimmed a little. A slow song started. I did not dance often. In my world, parties were usually built around negotiations, not romance. But tonight was about Sienna. Tonight was different. Go dance with someone, I told Logan, half teasing. You're drawing too much attention sitting here with me. I'm where I'm supposed to be, he said. You're my date now, I reminded him. It would look better if you danced. He tilted his head. With you? The question knocked the air out of my lungs for a second. I was thinking you could ask one of my aunts, I said, avoiding his eyes. Or one of my cousins who isn't married. He did not answer with words. He just stood up and held out his hand to me. Come on, Julia, he said. Stop controlling everything for one song. Control. My comfort zone. I looked at his hand, at the strong fingers, the ink on his wrist disappearing under his cuff. Then I placed my hand in his. He led me to the dance floor. People moved aside as we stepped onto the polished space. The band played a soft melody, clear and simple. Sienna and Daniel turned, saw us, and Sienna's eyes shone with something between surprise and joy. Logan pulled me closer. One hand rested at my waist. The other held my hand. His body was warm, solid. I could smell his cologne, clean and subtle. You don't have to hold me like I'm made of glass, I said. He tightened his hold, a small, grateful smile touching his lips. Good, because you're not. We moved slowly. I followed his lead, letting him guide me, and it felt strange to give control to anyone. My head was near his shoulder. I could feel the steady rhythm of his breathing. Everyone is staring again, I murmured. I know, he said. Does that bother you? I asked. No, he answered. I'm used to being seen when I'm next to you. This is different, I said. Tonight they think we're together. His fingers pressed my waist a little more firmly. And that bothers you? I hesitated. It complicates things. How? He asked. You work for me, I said quietly. You protect me. There are rules. We made those rules, he replied. We can change them. My heart rattled against my ribs. It's not that simple. It is for me, he said. Either I'm only your employee, or I'm something more. I can't be both forever. The music went on. Couples swayed around us. Sienna spun in Daniel's arms nearby, laughing. The chandelier above us reflected in the glass walls, but all I saw was the man in front of me. I swallowed. You're making this sound serious. It is serious, he said without hesitation. I finally forced myself to look up at him. His eyes were steady, no doubt, no fear. This was the same man who walked in front of me when there was a threat, who stepped between me and trouble without thinking twice. Now he was stepping toward me in a different way, and it scared me more than any enemy on the street. You shouldn't say things like that, I whispered. Why not? He asked. Because I don't have space for that in my life, I said. Love, relationships, all of that is a liability for someone like me. I know what you are, Julia, he said. I've seen more than anyone else. I'm not blind to your world. Then you know how dangerous it would be, I replied. He lowered his head until his forehead almost touched mine. His voice was quiet, private, only for me. I know how dangerous your world is, he said. I also know it doesn't change what I feel. The words knocked something loose inside me. I gripped his shoulder a little harder. You don't feel anything, I said, trying to sound light. This is just wedding energy. Too much champagne. Too many slow songs. He smiled, but his eyes stayed intense. I haven't had any champagne. I had no answer to that. The song shifted into another soft melody. We did not leave the dance floor. We stayed there, moving slowly, locked in a space that felt separate from everyone else, even though we were in the center of the room. Under my palm, his shoulder was solid. Under his hand, my waist felt claimed in a way that no contract, no signature, no deal had ever made me feel. Logan, I said finally, my voice low and careful. This is supposed to be fake. He studied my face. Is that what you want? Yes, I said too fast. He heard the lie. His thumb moved in a small circle at the side of my waist, almost soothing. His eyes never left mine. You know this doesn't feel fake to me, right? He said. My heart stopped for one beat. Then it rushed back even faster. I did not move. I did not pull away. I did not answer. Because in that moment, surrounded by my watching family and soft wedding music, held in the arms of the man who had protected me for years, I realized something I did not dare say out loud. It did not feel fake to me either. I didn't sleep after the wedding. Not for 1 minute. I lay in the hotel bed staring at the ceiling, still wearing the bracelet Logan had fixed on my wrist hours earlier. My heart beat the same way it had when he whispered, "This doesn't feel fake to me on the dance floor." Those words stayed inside my head like they were written on the walls. I wasn't used to losing control of my emotions. I wasn't used to anyone getting close enough to see what I tried so hard to hide. But last night, Logan stood close. Too close. By the time the sun rose behind the curtains, I had managed exactly nothing. No clarity, no plan, no explanation. Only the memory of his hand on my waist and the quiet honesty in his voice. When I finally stepped into the hallway outside my suite, I froze. Logan was there, not leaning against the wall, not checking his phone. He was sitting in a chair positioned directly facing my door, elbows on his knees, shoulders tense, eyes half closed but awake the second he heard me. He hadn't slept either. "Morning," he said, voice rough. I swallowed. "You stayed." "Of course I stayed." He stood, tall and steady as always. "I wasn't letting you spend the night without protection." My throat tightened at that word, protection. He meant it professionally, but after the dance floor last night, nothing he said felt simple. "We're safer here than anywhere," I murmured. "I know," he said. "But I wasn't leaving." He didn't add why. I didn't ask. We walked to the elevator in silence. When the doors closed, I felt the same pressure in the air as last night, like everything unsaid between us filled the small space. I shouldn't have said what I said, Logan finally said, keeping his eyes on the doors in front of him. My stomach dropped. About what? About us not feeling fake. His jaw tightened. It wasn't professional. Oh. So he regretted it. I folded my arms, pretending the words didn't sting. It was a wedding. People get emotional. That's not why I said it. His voice was low, steady. I meant it. But I shouldn't have put pressure on you. The elevator opened before I could answer. We walked toward the ballroom for brunch, surrounded by guests and family members, pretending nothing had changed. But everything had. Brunch was loud, full of chatter and clinking glasses. Sienna sat at the head table in a simple morning dress, her hair tied in a loose bun, glowing in that way only newlyweds do. She waved me over instantly. "Julia," she called. "Sit next to me. Logan, too." Logan stopped, looking at me for approval. I nodded, pretending my pulse wasn't racing. As we sat, Sienna leaned closer, her eyes sparkling with questions. "So, your date? He's not my—" "Please don't lie to me," she whispered, smiling sweetly. I inhaled slowly. "Sienna, we're not— You danced with him like you were," she said softly. Logan, seated beside me, pretended not to listen. His posture was straight, his attention scanning the room, but I knew he heard every word. "It was just to keep people from asking work questions," I said. Sienna rested her chin on her hand, studying me. "You looked happy." Happy. That word hit harder than expected. "I looked in control," I corrected. She raised an eyebrow. "No, you looked like a woman who trusted the man holding her." I froze. Sienna reached under the table and squeezed my hand. "Julia, I've never seen anyone look at you the way he does." My throat went tight. "How does he look at me? Like he'd walk through fire for you. Like he'd choose you in every room, every time." Her words were too dangerous. Too true. I pulled my hand away, needing air. "We're done talking about this." "As you wish, Queen Rossi," she teased, but there was softness in her voice. Across the table, Logan shifted slightly, glancing at me. He had heard. Of course he had. I looked away. When brunch ended, I needed space. Everyone else stayed in the ballroom drinking mimosas, but I stepped out to the garden terrace. A breeze moved through the trees outside, carrying the faint sound of the band still playing inside. For a moment, I let myself breathe. Then I heard footsteps behind me. Logan. "I figured you'd come out here," he said. I didn't turn around. I needed a moment. He joined me at the railing, close enough that our arms nearly touched. "Your sister likes you," he said quietly. "Sienna likes everyone." "Not like that," he said. "She watches you the way people watch someone they admire." I stared ahead. "She shouldn't admire me. My world isn't something to admire." "Your loyalty is," he replied. I blinked. His voice was calm and honest. Too honest. "You protect your family even when they don't know you're doing it. You carry everything so they don't have to." My chest tightened at the unexpected softness of his words. "I don't carry everything," I whispered. "You do." He shifted closer, his arm brushing mine lightly. "You've built a life where everyone relies on you. That doesn't make you untouchable, Julia. It makes you lonely." I tensed. "I'm not lonely." He sighed, like he could see straight through me. "You don't have to lie to me." I turned to him sharply. "Why do you care so much?" His eyes met mine, steady, warm, unflinching. "Because you matter to me." The words slipped into my chest like they'd been waiting there forever. I looked away first. "We shouldn't be having this conversation." "Maybe not," he said softly. "But we are." The air between us shifted. It wasn't dangerous. It wasn't uncomfortable. It felt real. Too real. "I need to get ready for the afternoon event," I said, stepping back. "Let's go." He followed without arguing, but the moment lingered like a touch neither of us had actually made. Later, as we walked back to our suite, the hotel manager approached us. "Ms. Rossi," he said nervously, "there seems to be a small issue with the reservation." I frowned. "What issue?" "We're fully booked tonight. Your second room wasn't confirmed. We only have the suite you're currently in available." My eyes widened. "Only one?" "One," he confirmed, clearly terrified of me. "I apologize." Before I spoke, Logan stepped in politely. "It's fine. We'll manage." I shot him a glare. He shrugged. The manager exhaled in relief and vanished. I walked toward the elevator, feeling Logan's presence behind me. When the doors closed, he finally spoke. "You don't have to be uncomfortable," he said. "I'll take the sofa." "No," I said quickly. "You take the bed." His eyebrows lifted. "Not happening. You're too tall for the sofa. You're not sleeping on it either." We stared at each other, stubbornness rising on both sides. Then Logan's lips curved in the faintest smile. "We'll figure it out." My chest tightened again, because figure it out, with him, felt more dangerous than anything outside those hotel walls. That night, after the last family event, we returned to the suite. I changed in the bathroom, trying to steady my breathing before stepping out. When I opened the door, Logan was by the window, phone in hand, his suit jacket off, sleeves rolled up, showing the ink along his forearms. He looked devastating. Without turning, he spoke softly. "There's something I need to say." I froze behind him. "What is it?" He exhaled slowly. "Last night, when I told you it didn't feel fake, I didn't mean to confuse you. My heart thudded. I wanted you to know the truth, even if it complicates everything." I swallowed hard. "And what truth is that?" He finally turned. His eyes met mine, warm, steady, unguarded. "That I care about you more than I should," he said. "More than I'm allowed to." A breath caught in my throat. "And I know I shouldn't say that," he added. "Not when this is supposed to be simple. But it's not simple for me." Something in my chest cracked open. Slow. Quiet. Certain. "Logan," I whispered. He took a step closer, and I didn't move away. Not even an inch. For one moment we stood there, inches apart, breathing the same air, our walls half broken, half standing. His voice dropped to a whisper. "Tell me what you want me to be tonight, Julia. Your date? Your bodyguard? Something in between?" My lips parted, but no words came out. Because the truth was something I wasn't ready to admit, not to him, not to myself. So I looked into his eyes and said nothing. But my silence told him everything. And that was the problem. Because the more he understood me, the harder it became to keep my distance. And I wasn't sure how much longer I could pretend that this was all just an act. I woke the next morning with one clear thought. I shouldn't have let last night happen. Not the words, not the closeness, not the way Logan looked at me like he knew every feeling I was trying to bury. I was the one who brought him to this wedding pretending nothing would change, and now everything felt different. And the worst part? I didn't want it to go back to the way it was. I sat on the edge of the hotel bed, still in the soft morning light, listening to the hum of the air conditioner. Logan was already awake. Standing near the door, dressed in a fitted black t-shirt and jeans. Looking like someone who didn't sleep, but still carried himself like he could take on the world. His eyes landed on me instantly. "Morning." I nodded. "Morning." The silence stretched. Yesterday, that silence felt loaded and dangerous in a good way. This morning, it felt too intimate. "We should head down soon," he said. "Your family's brunch ceremony starts at 10. "Right." I stood. "Give me 10 minutes." I escaped into the bathroom, closed the door, and leaned against it for a moment, trying to get my heartbeat under control. Why did he have to say things like, "I care about you more than I should"? Why did he have to mean them? I fixed my hair, applied makeup with hands that weren't as steady as they should be, and forced myself to breathe normally before walking out again. When I did, Logan was at the window, the sunlight outlining his shoulders, the tattoos on his arms visible under the short sleeves. He looked over his shoulder at me, slowly, like he was afraid of what that look might show. "Ready?" he asked. "Yes," I said, even though I wasn't ready for any of this. Brunch was crowded again, with guests from both families sitting around long tables full of pastries, fruit, eggs, and champagne. The air smelled like cinnamon and expensive perfume. Sienna spotted us immediately. "There you are." She rushed over and hugged me. "Julia, you look tired. Did you sleep?" "Not much," I admitted. Her eyes flicked to Logan, then back to me. Oh no. Before she could say anything, her husband Daniel joined us. "Sit with us," he said warmly. We saved seats. Logan pulled out my chair again, and I couldn't pretend I didn't feel the small flutter in my stomach. When he sat beside me, our arms brushed lightly. He didn't move away. Sienna leaned closer, whispering, "You two look connected." I stiffened. "Don't start." "Too late," she whispered back. Logan glanced at me, curious. Sienna smiled, innocent like a cat waiting to steal food from the table. Before I could respond, Uncle Lorenzo walked over holding a cup of coffee. "So," he said, staring at Logan, "you two sharing a room?" I nearly choked on air. "What?" "The hotel manager told Rosa," he said casually, sipping his coffee. "And Rosa told everyone else." Perfect. A full rumor cycle in under an hour. Logan didn't blink. "There was a mistake with the booking," he said calmly. "We're just working with what we have." "Working," my uncle repeated slowly, like the word tasted suspicious. Sienna elbowed me under the table. "Working, sure." I kicked her foot lightly, and she burst out laughing. Logan tried not to smile, but I saw it. The small curve at the corner of his mouth. And something about that tiny smile made everything in my chest feel like it was shifting into place. After brunch, most guests went upstairs to change for the afternoon photo shoot session, some ridiculous family tradition Sienna insisted on. As we reached the elevator, a wedding planner stopped us. "Ms. Rossi, the room assignments are finalized. The family requested close quarters, so your suite is the main coordination point." I frowned. "Meaning?" "Everyone will check in and out of your room for photos," she said. "Hair, makeup, emergency repairs, everything. So our suite would be the biggest revolving door of relatives all afternoon." "Fantastic." Logan looked at me. "You okay?" I exhaled slowly. "I'll survive." The elevator took us up to the suite floor. When the doors opened, Sienna stood there waiting. "Oh good, you're here," she said, pulling me by the arm. "Julia, I need help with the zipper on my backup dress. And Logan." Logan straightened. "Yes?" "You'll stay outside the suite while we change. No barging in," she teased. Logan gave her a flat look. "I've never barged in." Sienna grinned. "Not intentionally, but Julia walks into danger every week, so I'm not taking chances." I rolled my eyes. "Sienna, I'm fine." Logan's jaw tightened slightly. "She's never actually fine," he said. "That's why I'm here." Both of us froze. Sienna blinked, and then her smile returned, but softer, more knowing. "I see," she said quietly. "Good." She pulled me inside the room and closed the door behind us before I could respond. "What was that?" I whispered. "That," Sienna said as she sat by the vanity, "was a man speaking from his heart." I tried to ignore the warmth rushing to my cheeks. "Stop dramatizing." "Julia, you're the one dramatizing," she said. "You should have seen the way he looked when he said it." I opened my mouth to argue, but the words died. Because she was right. And I had no idea what to do with that truth. Hours passed in a blur of outfits, shoes, laughter, chaos, and wedding photographers shouting instructions. By evening, everyone was exhausted. Everyone except Logan, who stood watch the whole time like some unshakable monument carved out of muscle and patience. When the last photo was taken, and the final guest left to change for dinner, I let out a long breath and leaned against the wall outside our suite. "You okay?" Logan asked. Surprisingly, yes. "You've been tense all day." "You noticed," I said quietly. His brows lowered. "I notice everything about you." My breath caught. Before I could react, a group of hotel workers walked down the hallway pushing carts, and the moment broke. Logan unlocked the suite door, and I stepped inside first. He followed, closing it gently behind us. But something changed as soon as the latch clicked. Silence. Privacy. Too much space. Too much closeness. We weren't surrounded by family, cameras, planners, or noise anymore. It was just us. And one bed. "Do you want the shower first?" I asked, my voice a little uneven. "You can take it," he said. "I'll wait." I walked to the bathroom door, then paused. "Logan?" He looked up. "About last night." His chest rose slowly with his breath. "Yes?" "I'm not good at this," I said. "Feelings, talking about them, handling them." "I know," he said gently. "And we're supposed to be here for Sienna's wedding," I added. "I know. So maybe we should keep things simple." His eyes didn't soften this time. They grew sharper. Focused. Hurt wasn't the right word. Disappointed wasn't quite it either. It was something deeper. "Simple?" he repeated. "Yes." He stepped toward me slowly, stopping a short distance away. "Julia, nothing about how I feel for you is simple." I swallowed. "And I think you feel it too," he said quietly. "Even if you don't want to say it." I looked away for 1 second. One mistake. Because he stepped closer, closing the distance, his voice lower, deeper, steady. "You're scared," he said. "That's fine. I can be patient." He paused. "But don't pretend there's nothing here." His hand lifted as if he wanted to touch my face. But he didn't. He stopped an inch away, fingers curled like he was holding himself back. I couldn't breathe. He let out a slow breath and stepped back. "I'll be outside," he said. "Take your shower." He walked out of the suite before I could find a single word. I closed the bathroom door behind me, leaned against it, and admitted the truth in a whisper I'd never say out loud. I wasn't scared of him. I was scared of us. That night, after my shower, after dinner, after hours of pretending nothing was happening, I stood by the window while Logan checked the hallway one last time. When he returned, he locked the door and stopped. We were alone again. Same suite, same unspoken tension. He cleared his throat. "You take the bed." "No," I said. "We can't. Julia." His voice was gentle but firm. "Sleep in the bed. And you?" "I'll take the sofa," he said. I stared at him. "You won't fit." He smiled, small but real. "I've slept in worse places." The problem wasn't the sofa. The problem was the idea of sleeping inches away from him. The problem was that it felt too intimate, too dangerous in a different way. "Good night," he said softly. I hesitated. "Logan." He looked at me like the world stopped for that 1 second. "Yes?" I couldn't ask him to stay closer. I couldn't ask him to hold me. I couldn't ask him anything. So I just said, "Good night." I walked to the bed. He walked to the sofa. The room felt too small, too quiet, too full of everything we weren't saying. I lay on the pillow and closed my eyes. But before sleep took me, I heard his voice in the dark, low, honest, unguarded. "Julia," he said softly, without knowing I was awake. I wish tonight wasn't so complicated. I opened my eyes in the darkness, because I wished the same thing. And I had no idea what would happen when the morning came, when the line between us was already half erased and getting harder to redraw, I left the wedding weekend pretending everything was under control. But pretending didn't work on Logan. He stood beside me in the elevator as we checked out of the hotel, our suitcases between us, the faint smell of coffee filling the small space. The doors closed, and for the first time in days, there were no relatives watching, no wedding planners swirling around, no excuses to hide behind. Just me, and the man who had spent the night on a sofa too small for him, all because I was afraid of what would happen if we got any closer. "You didn't sleep," Logan said, his voice soft but certain. I kept my eyes on my suitcase handle. "Neither did you." "Yeah," he admitted. "For different reasons." The elevator stopped. The doors opened. He picked up both our bags before I could protest. "Let's go," he said, walking ahead like he always did. First into danger, first into chaos, first into anything that might touch me. I followed him out of the hotel with my heart beating too loud for the calm morning air. The Rossi car was waiting outside, a black SUV, tinted windows, quiet engine. The driver nodded respectfully. "Ms. Rossi." "Morning," I said, slipping inside. Logan got in after me. The door closed, and the city started moving outside the windows. I watched the buildings pass by, tall, clean, cold. A world I had conquered with iron and bloodless contracts. A world that listened when I spoke and stepped aside when I walked. But none of that power helped me when Logan sat quietly beside me, hands resting on his thighs, jaw tense like he was fighting every thought in his head. When the car pulled up to my penthouse building in Manhattan, the driver went around to grab our things. Logan opened my door before he opened his own. Old habit. Always protective. But the look he gave me wasn't just professional. It was searching. "Julia," he said quietly, "before we go upstairs." "Not here," I cut him off. "Not in front of everyone." His jaw clenched for a brief second, but he nodded. "Okay." We moved through the marble lobby, into the elevator that led directly to my penthouse floor. The door opened to the wide-open living room, floor-to-ceiling windows, city skyline, cold modern furniture. It was home, and suddenly, it felt too empty. Logan placed our suitcases by the wall. "I'll take the guest room." "There's no need," I said too fast. "Just stay close, for security." Security. I hated myself for using that word to hide my heart. He gave me a slow look. "You really want that?" I didn't answer. I walked toward the kitchen, pretending to straighten a stack of mail I hadn't checked in days. But he followed. "Julia," he said, stopping a few feet behind me. "Talk to me." "I'm fine," I said. "You're lying." I turned sharply. "And you're reading too much into everything." His eyes softened, not with pity, not with frustration, but with something that made my breath catch. "Everyone else in your life lies to you," he said. "I'm not going to." My fingers tightened around the edge of the marble island. "Logan, I meant what I said last night," he continued, stepping closer. "I care about you more than I should. And I know you feel something too." "I can't," I whispered. "I can't give space to this." "Why?" "Because loving someone in my world is dangerous," I said, "and I won't be the reason something happens to you." He stopped right in front of me, his height forcing me to lift my chin. "You don't get to decide for me," he said. "You don't get to choose who I care about. I'm here because I want to be." A breath left my lungs too quickly. "And if that means standing next to you in this life, then that's exactly what I'll do." My vision blurred for a second. Not from tears, but from how deeply his words hit. "I'm not good at this," I said quietly. "I know," he replied. "But you're good at protecting people. Maybe it's time you let someone protect you too." He didn't touch me. He didn't push. He just stood there, steady and patient, like a wall I couldn't knock down. I finally stepped back, shaking my head. "I need a shower." He nodded once. "I'll make breakfast." When I came out 20 minutes later, Logan was in my kitchen, wearing a white t-shirt, tattoos out, flipping pancakes like he had been doing it his whole life. "You cook now?" I asked. "Only when someone forgets to eat," he said. "I don't forget." "You forget constantly," he corrected, placing a plate with pancakes and fresh fruit in front of me. "Sit." I sat before I could argue. He made coffee next, bringing the mug toward me. And it wasn't until he set it down that I realized he made it exactly the way I liked. Exactly. "How did you know?" I asked. He didn't look up. "I've watched you drink coffee every morning for 2 years. The fork almost fell from my hand. 2 years. 2 years of this man watching over me, memorizing me without ever being asked. "Logan," I whispered, "this isn't normal." He leaned both hands on the counter and looked at me. Really looked. "I don't want normal," he said. "I want you." My breath hitched. "And if you tell me again that this is impossible," he added, "at least give me one honest reason. Not fear, not duty. Your reason." My reason was him. He was the reason everything felt impossible. Because once I let myself love him, there would be no going back. "Logan," I started. But then my phone buzzed. I looked down. A text from one of my men. "We need to talk. Something's happening in your territory. Not urgent yet, but important." Logan saw the way my face changed. "What happened?" he asked instantly. "Nothing. It can wait." "It can't." "I won't leave again," I said firmly. "I was gone the whole weekend for Sienna. I'm not ruining her wedding memories by dragging something dark into today." He eyed me carefully. "If anything is happening around you, I need to know." "It's nothing," I repeated. "Just business." He crossed his arms. "Everything involving you is my business. Not this. Yes, this. Logan. No, stop shutting me out." I went silent. He stared at me for a long moment, something like frustration and worry mixing in his expression. Then he exhaled and ran a hand through his hair. "Fine. If you're not going, I'm doubling security around the building." "Do what you want," I murmured. "I always do." He turned away slightly, just enough for me to feel the distance growing. I hated that, more than I expected. We spent the next few hours in a strange quiet. Not cold, just tight, careful. Like we were standing on the edge of something big, and neither of us knew how to step forward. It wasn't until late afternoon, when the sun dipped lower behind the skyline, that it happened. We were sitting on my living room sofa. Me with my legs tucked under me, Logan leaning back with his arm on the backrest, close but not touching. The city lights flickered on outside the windows. And then, a single strand of hair fell over my shoulder. Logan reached out, slow and gentle, and tucked it behind my ear. His fingers brushed my skin. I froze. He didn't pull away. Instead, he moved closer, studying my face with an expression I had never seen on him before. Something soft, something certain, something that felt like a question and an answer at the same time. "Julia," he whispered. I didn't speak. He lifted his hand to my jaw, thumb brushing lightly over my cheek. I leaned into his touch without meaning to, and that was all he needed. He kissed me. The moment his lips touched mine, everything inside me fell apart. Every rule, every fear, every wall I had built over years of power and distance. His kiss wasn't rushed or demanding. It was warm, steady, full of something real and deep. I kissed him back before I even realized I had moved. Logan made a soft sound in his throat, sliding his hand to the back of my neck, pulling me closer. I pressed my hands to his chest, feeling the heat of his body, the steady beat of his heart. The kiss deepened. Slow, careful, wanting. When he finally pulled away, our foreheads rested together, breaths mixed. "I've wanted to do that since the day I met you," he murmured. I closed my eyes. "You shouldn't have." Why? He whispered. Because now I can't pretend nothing's happening. His lips brushed mine again. Good. I opened my eyes, shaken, breathless, completely undone. Logan, I whispered. This changes everything. I know, he said. I'm not afraid. But I was. Not of him. Of losing him. Of loving him. He didn't kiss me again. He just held my face gently. Like I wasn't someone people feared, but someone he would never let go. And for the first time in a very long time, I let myself hold him back. But that was also the moment I realized something terrifying. If I let this grow, if I let myself fall deeper into him, I might lose the one thing that kept my world standing. Control. And once I lost control with Logan, I wasn't sure I would ever get it back. I woke up before the sun. For a second, I didn't remember where I was. All I felt was warmth at my back, a strong arm around my waist, a steady chest against my spine. Logan's breath was slow against my neck. Then everything came back at once. The wedding, bringing him to my sister's big day as my date. The night in my penthouse. His hands on my skin, his mouth on mine. The way he said my name like it meant more than any title. The way I finally stopped pretending I didn't want him. And then, later, when I left the bedroom and heard his voice in the living room. I can't be just her employee anymore. If I stay as the man who loves her. I felt his arm tighten around my waist, pulling me closer in his sleep. My chest ached. He loved me. There was nothing professional about the way he had held me last night. Nothing professional about the way he looked at me when I let my guard down. This was not just a bodyguard staying close to his client. This was a man in love. And I was the woman who could get him killed. Careful not to wake him, I slid out of his arms. The bed felt cold the second I left it. I grabbed a silk robe, wrapped it around me, and walked into the living room. The city outside the floor-to-ceiling windows was still dark, only a gray line beginning to show in the sky. Lights blinked on buildings. Cars moved far below. My world was waking up. My world. My name. My responsibilities. My enemies. I stood there, staring at my own reflection in the glass. Black hair, green eyes, bare face, no makeup, no armor. Just Julia. No one else ever saw me like this. Only him. Behind me I heard the soft sound of footsteps. Logan's voice was low and rough from sleep. Couldn't sleep? He asked. I turned. He stood there shirtless, just in sweatpants, his hair a little messy, tattoos visible across his chest and arms. He looked strong, relaxed, and completely at home in my penthouse. That image was dangerous. I woke up early, I said. It happens. He studied my face, then walked closer. His hand brushed my cheek, gentle and familiar. You're thinking too much again. I always think too much, I said. That's true, he said quietly. He leaned in and kissed me. Slow, soft. It was nothing like the first hungry kiss we shared. This one was careful and affectionate, like he already saw me as his. And maybe that was the problem. I pulled away a little faster than he expected. He frowned. What is it? Logan, we need to talk, I said. He went still. Those were never good words. Not in any language. Not in any world. Okay, he said. Talk. I walked to the sofa and sat, wrapping the robe tighter around my waist. He sat across from me, forearms resting on his knees, completely focused. I heard you last night, I said. His eyes narrowed slightly. What did you hear? You on the phone, I said. You said you couldn't be just my employee. You said if you stayed as the man who loves me. His jaw clenched. He didn't deny it. I didn't know you were listening. I was, I said. And I need you to be honest with me now. Did you mean it? He held my gaze, steady. Yes, I meant every word. My chest hurt. I already knew, but hearing him say it so clearly made it real in a way I couldn't ignore. Logan. I started, but he shook his head. No, he said. Let me say this once, clearly. I love you, Julia. Not as a boss, not as a client, as a woman. I have for longer than you think. My heart picked up speed. How long? He gave a small, humorless smile. Long enough that I lost count. I swallowed. Why didn't you say anything before? Because it wasn't my place, he said. You had all this weight on your shoulders. You didn't need a man complicating things. You needed someone to stand between you and everything that wanted a piece of you. And now? I asked. He exhaled. Now I can't pretend anymore. Not after the wedding. Not after you brought me home. Not after last night. Silence settled over us. Heavy. Real. He leaned forward a little. I know your life is dangerous. I know what it means to stand next to you in public. I know the risks. I'm not stupid. I'm not blind. But I'd rather stand beside you as the man you love than sit in some safe corner watching you pretend you don't need anyone. I looked down at my hands. My fingers were shaking. You don't understand, I whispered. Then explain it to me, he said. I lifted my head and forced myself to say the worst part out loud. If people know you're not just security, if they see you as my weak point, they will use you to get to me. He didn't flinch. They already see me as a problem. I've been in your shadow long enough. They know I'm loyal to you. It's different if they know you're mine, I said. It changes the rules. You're not the only one who can face danger, he said. I've been in bad situations before. This is not the same thing, I said sharply. You don't carry my name. You don't have my target. You don't... He cut in, calm but firm. You think I'm afraid? I think you should be, I shot back. We stared at each other, breathing harder than we should in a room that was completely quiet. He was the first to look away, just for a second. So, what are you saying? He asked. That last night was a mistake? The word made my stomach twist. Last night had been the first time I felt truly held, not just protected. The first time I let someone see everything without a filter. I felt safe in a way no gun, no guard, no glass wall had ever made me feel. Calling that a mistake felt like a lie. But lies were what I was good at. For someone like me, I said slowly, love is a weakness. Anyone attached to me becomes a target. That includes you. I know that, he said. I chose this. You chose the job, I said. Not this. His eyes hardened. You really believe that? I forced myself not to look away. If you stay in my life like this, you will get hurt. Or worse. I won't let that happen. His jaw clenched. You don't get to decide if I'm willing to take that risk. Yes, I said quietly. I do. Because if something happens to you because of me, I will never forgive myself. He stared at me. His chest rose and fell slowly, like he was holding back a lot more than he was saying. So what do you want, Julia? He asked. Tell me clearly. Do you want me to stay by your side as the man who loves you? Or do you want me to walk away? My heart screamed stay. My brain screamed send him away before someone uses him against you. I felt like I was cutting myself open when I spoke. I want you safe, I said. That's not an answer, he replied softly. It's the only one I can give you, I said. I can't do this. Not like this. Not now. You want to go back to the way it was, he said. Yes. You want me to stand behind you, act like none of this happened, watch other men try to get close to you while I pretend I don't care? I swallowed. I want you alive, Logan. His eyes closed for a second. When he opened them again, there was something final there. Then I can't stay, he said. The room seemed to tilt slightly. What? I asked. I can't stay and pretend this is nothing, he said. I can't be in your shadow knowing we crossed that line. I won't disrespect myself like that. And I won't disrespect you by acting like I never touched you, never held you, never told you I loved you. My throat burned. So, What are you going to do? I asked quietly. He stood up. I'll finish the week, he said. I'll make sure everything around you is stable. Then I'm done. I'll step away. Leave New York? I asked. Maybe, he said. Maybe not. But I won't be on your payroll anymore. The words hit harder than any threat from any rival. Logan. He shook his head. Don't, Julia. You made your choice. I respect it. I won't force myself into your life in a way you don't want. But I also won't stay where I'm only allowed to be half of who I am. He walked toward the bedroom, grabbed his shirt from the chair, and pulled it on. He moved with calm, controlled motions, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. At the door, he stopped and looked back at me. You're not made of stone, he said quietly. You think you are, but you're not. One day, you're going to realize that pushing people away doesn't make you stronger. It just makes you alone. Then he left. The door closed behind him with a soft click that sounded louder than any gunshot I'd ever heard. I sat there for a long time, staring at the empty space he left behind. I'd wanted to protect him. Instead, I had broken both of us. The next days were a blur of meetings, numbers, messages, and faces I barely registered. I went back to my routine, or at least, I tried. I held conversations about investments and logistics. I signed contracts. I checked reports. I met with lawyers about more legitimate fronts I was building. I moved money away from dirty channels and into clean ones. Everything I had planned to do for months I finally did. Not because of fear, because of him. If I ever wanted a life that wasn't full of threats, I needed to start pushing my world in a different direction. And I had already begun. I just never told him. Now it felt like I was doing it with a hole in my chest. Logan still came to work for a few days, quiet and professional. He stayed close, watched entrances and exits, scanned rooms like always. But he kept a firm distance. He didn't touch me unless he had to. He didn't joke with me. He didn't call me Julia unless it was necessary. Most of the time it was Ms. Rossi again. Every time he said it, something inside me flinched. On the last day he promised to stay, I pretended it was just another morning. I wore a fitted black dress, tied my hair back, applied lipstick like armor, and told myself I could handle anything. In the late afternoon, I had to attend a private event at a luxury hotel. A fundraiser. Clean, public, cameras everywhere. The kind of place where people shook hands in front of charity posters and did shady business behind closed doors. I arrived with 2 new security men and a driver. Logan had already started stepping back. He wasn't in my car. He wasn't by my side when I entered the lobby. Even so, when I walked in, I felt eyes on me from across the room. Strong, familiar, protective. I turned. Logan stood near a column, hired by one of the businessmen attending the same event. Different suit, different client. Same man. Our eyes met. For a moment, the entire room faded. It was just him and me. He gave a small nod, polite and distant, like I was any other person he happened to recognize. Jealousy hit me like a wave when I saw a woman walk up to him, tall, pretty, in a red dress, laughing at something he said. He looked down at her, listened, gave a small, polite answer. He didn't touch her, but watching her stand that close to him felt like someone was pressing a hand against my ribs from the inside. I turned away quickly. You wanted him safe, I told myself. This is what safe looks like. A normal job. A normal client. I moved through the event on autopilot, shaking hands, offering controlled smiles, answering questions. My mind wasn't on any of it. During a break between speeches, I slipped out to the terrace to breathe. The night air was cool. The city lights spread out in front of me. I wrapped my arms around myself and closed my eyes for a second. Running away from the crowd? A familiar voice teased. I opened my eyes. Sienna stood there, holding a glass of sparkling water, wearing a simple dress and a soft smile. What are you doing here? I asked. Daniel's company got invited, she said. He's somewhere inside talking about boring numbers. I saw you escape and thought I'd follow. Of course. She stepped next to me at the railing. You look off. I'm fine, I said. She raised an eyebrow. You know that stopped working on me when we were 10, right? I stayed quiet. She nudged my arm. Is it about him? I didn't answer. That's a yes, she said. I let out a breath. He's leaving. Her face softened. Logan? Yes. Because of you? She asked gently. Yes, I said again, my voice barely above a whisper. We stood in silence for a few seconds. I thought pushing him away would keep him safe, I said. I thought if I cut this off now, no one could use him against me. No one could hurt him because of me. I thought it was the smart decision. And now? She asked. Now I feel like I cut off my own arm, I said simply. There it was. No drama. Just a plain truth that hurt more than any threat anyone had ever made against me. Sienna's eyes shone a little. Julia, I can handle losing deals, I said. I can handle losing territory. I can handle people trying to move against me. I've done it all. But when I saw him across this room, working for someone else, standing next to another woman, it felt worse than all of that combined. Sienna listened quietly. I didn't want to drag him into my world, I said. But he's already in it. He's been in it for years. And for the first time, I realized maybe I was using him as an excuse. Maybe I was just scared to admit I wanted something real. Sienna put her hand over mine on the railing. You deserve something real, she said. People like me don't get that, I said. That's a lie you tell yourself so you don't risk your heart, she replied. You are not your last name. You are not what people whisper about you. You are my sister, and my sister deserves to be loved. My throat tightened. She squeezed my hand. You know what I see when I look at Logan? What? I asked. A man who is already in danger just by breathing the same air as you, she said. The difference is, with you he has a reason. Without you, he's just another man in a dark world, doing a job that doesn't mean anything. I blinked away the burn in my eyes. If you love him, she said softly, fight for him. If you don't, then let him go and stop torturing yourself. But don't stand in the middle pretending you're made of stone. You're not. I didn't answer, because I knew exactly what I felt. I just didn't know if I was still in time to fix what I'd done. Later that night, after the event ended, I sat in the back of my car, staring at my phone. One text would be enough. Come to the penthouse. We need to talk. Don't leave. Just one message. Just one call. I typed his name. My finger hovered over the screen. Then my phone buzzed. A message came in from one of my men. Heard Carter turned down a local contract. Looks like he's taking a long-term job out of state, leaving in a few days. My stomach dropped. Out of state. Not just out of my life. Out of my city. Out of reach. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. Then I locked my phone, looked at my own reflection in the car window, and realized something very simple. If I did nothing, I would lose him. Completely. No more chances to fix things. No more chances to tell him the truth. No more chances to show him that the Mafia queen could choose love over fear. The car pulled up to my building. The driver opened the door. I stepped out. My decision already made. Tomorrow I would find Logan Carter. And I would not let him leave without hearing what I should have said the day I pushed him away. That I loved him too. I didn't realize how heavy my life felt until the day Logan walked out of it. For 2 weeks, I tried to convince myself I had made the right choice pushing him away. I told myself I was protecting him. I told myself it was safer. I told myself I could handle the distance. None of those things were true. Every morning, I walked through my penthouse with the same routine: coffee, messages, meetings, reports. But nothing felt the same. Everything felt colder, quieter, Wrong. I could function, but I couldn't breathe the way I did when Logan was around. I felt it most at night, when the city lights hit the glass walls of my penthouse and everything looked perfect from the outside. But inside, there was nothing but silence. Because he wasn't there. Because the sofa where he used to sit was empty. Because I kept waiting to hear him check the hallway before locking the door at night, even though he didn't work for me anymore. Because a part of me kept expecting him to walk around the corner with that quiet focus he always had. But he didn't. He wasn't mine to expect anymore. Sienna saw it before I even said a word. We were having dinner at her apartment, her tiny, cozy kitchen that smelled like garlic and fresh bread. She placed a plate in front of me and sat down, watching me too closely. "You look miserable," she said. I raised an eyebrow. "I'm fine." "Julia, you haven't been fine since the wedding. And since Logan left? You don't even pretend to be okay." I sighed. "This is why I didn't want to come here. This is exactly why you needed to come here." She leaned forward. "Tell me what happened." I stared at the fork in my hand. I told him we couldn't be anything, that it wasn't possible. And now I can't stop thinking about him. My voice cracked just enough for her to notice. "I hate this feeling. It's called being in love," Sienna said softly. "It's not supposed to feel safe. It's supposed to feel real." I swallowed hard. "I don't want him to get hurt because of me." "You're not dangerous to him," she said. "You're home to him." I looked up, startled. "What?" "Julia." Her voice gentled. "The way he watches you? The way he moves when you walk into a room? He's not surviving you. He's choosing you." I pushed my plate away. "He's leaving New York." Sienna froze. "What?" "One of my men told me. He's taking a long-term job out of state." My chest tightened. "He plans to move by the end of the week." Sienna stood so quickly her chair scraped the floor. "Then what are you doing here? Go get him." "It's not that simple," I said. She pointed her finger at me. "Julia Rossi, you have faced men who would have loved to take your throne. You've held entire rooms in the palm of your hand. But you're telling me that going after the man you love is too hard?" Her words hit deep. "I don't deserve him," I whispered. Sienna shook her head. "You don't get to decide that for him. He already chose you." I closed my eyes, and for the first time since Logan walked away, I admitted the truth out loud. I love him. It felt like surrender. It felt like freedom. Sienna grabbed my coat and shoved it into my hands. "Then go." I didn't argue. Logan's building was small compared to mine. Older brick, narrow hallways, a simple elevator that hummed as it moved. Nothing about it was impressive. Everything about it felt like him. Quiet, strong, grounded. I walked down the hall until I reached his door. 3B. For the first time in years, my hand shook before I knocked. It took a moment, then footsteps moved toward the door. A lock clicked, and then he opened it. Logan froze. He wasn't wearing a suit. He wasn't armed. He wasn't guarded. He wore a dark gray t-shirt that hugged every muscle, jeans low on his hips, hair slightly messy from running his hands through it. He looked heartbreakingly real. "Julia," he said, breath unsteady. "What are you doing here?" "I needed to see you," I said. He stepped back a little, giving me space to enter. I walked inside. The apartment was simple. Sofa, small table, a few boxes packed near the wall. He really was leaving. He shut the door gently. "You shouldn't be here." "Why not?" "Because I haven't gotten over you yet," he said quietly. "And seeing you makes it impossible." My heart cracked open. I took a step toward him. "Logan." "No," he said. "Let me say this. I tried to respect your boundaries. I tried to walk away. I even tried to take a new job far from here. But nothing works. I can't switch off what I feel for you." I swallowed. "I don't want you to switch it off," He looked at me like he didn't dare believe it. What are you saying? I took a breath. I pushed you away because I thought I was protecting you. I thought loving me would put you in danger. His eyes softened. Julia. But I was wrong, I continued. I'm not protecting you by leaving you. I'm just hurting both of us. He exhaled shakily. You're not the only one who was scared. That surprised me. You were scared. He nodded slowly. I'm terrified of losing you. Terrified of not being enough. Terrified that I'll stand by your side and still watch you walk away. I stepped closer, my voice trembling. I'm not walking away. Then his eyes dropped to my hands, shaking slightly as I reached for him. He caught my wrist gently, his thumb brushing my skin like he wasn't sure I was real. Tell me what you want, he whispered. You, I said. I want you. He let out a breath that sounded like relief and longing all at once. He lifted his hand to my face, cupping my cheek with so much care it almost broke me. Say it again, he murmured. I want you, I repeated, voice steadier. As my partner, not my employee, not my protection, my equal, my man. His jaw tightened with emotion. You mean that? I do. He didn't hesitate. He pulled me into his arms and kissed me. The kiss wasn't like the first one we shared. This one was deeper, full of everything we had held back for years. His hand slid around my waist, pulling me close. Mine wrapped around his neck, fingers sliding into his hair, holding him like I'd never let go again. When we finally parted, both breathless, he rested his forehead against mine. I'm not leaving, he said. Not if you want me. I want you, I whispered. I want a future with you. His eyes softened with something warm and bright. Then we'll build it. I brushed my thumb across his cheek. But before we do, I need to tell you something. He pulled back slightly. What is it? My father hired you years ago, I said quietly. Didn't he? Before I ever knew you worked for me. Logan's eyes widened. Then he nodded, slowly, reluctantly. Yes, he said. He asked me to protect you from a distance. I watched over you for years before the day you hired me. I felt my breath catch. Why didn't you tell me? Because you didn't need to know, he said honestly. You were becoming powerful. I didn't want you to think you needed saving. I wanted you to choose me because you wanted me, not because I was assigned to you. Emotion bloomed in my chest, raw, overwhelming, beautiful. All this time, I whispered. You were there. Always, he said. I touched his lips lightly with my fingers. Then don't ever leave again. His hand slid to my waist, pulling me in as he murmured, I'm not going anywhere. We kissed again, softer this time, slow, patient, full of everything we planned to build together. When he finally lifted his head, he said something that made my heart melt completely. I don't want to protect you because it's my job anymore, he whispered. I want to protect you because I love you. I felt tears sting my eyes. Happy tears, real ones. I love you too, I said. And in that quiet apartment, with half-packed boxes and the future waiting in front of us, we chose each other. Fully, finally, without fear. This time, there was no turning back. And for the first time in my life, choosing love didn't feel like a risk. It felt like the safest thing I had ever done. I never thought I would walk down an aisle for myself. I spent years watching other people promise forever. Watching from a distance. Guarded. Cold. The Mafia queen who made sure everyone else was safe, even if it meant staying alone. And yet, on that clear afternoon, I stood in front of a mirror in a white dress, knowing that in a few minutes, I would walk toward the one man I once told myself I could never have. Logan Carter, my husband. Stop frowning, Sienna said behind me. You're the bride. Brides are supposed to smile. I met her eyes in the mirror. She stood a few steps back, holding my bouquet, wearing a soft blush dress. Her hair was down, loose waves around her shoulders. She looked happy, peaceful. A reminder of the promise I had made years ago, to keep her far from my world. Now my world was changing. I smoothed my hand over the front of my dress. It was fitted at the waist, simple but elegant. White, with subtle lace details. My black hair was half up, half down, and my green eyes looked different today. Softer, lighter, less alone. "I'm not frowning," I said. "You're thinking too much," she answered. "Which for you is the same thing." I turned to face her. "Do you remember your wedding?" I asked. She laughed. "Of course I do. You strutted into the ballroom with a tattooed god at your side and made every relative choke on their champagne." I smiled. I could still see it like it was yesterday. The glass chandeliers, the shocked faces, the whispers when I introduced my bodyguard as my date. "Nobody is choking today," I said. "They all know what's happening." "Some of them are still confused," Sienna admitted, grinning. "But they're on board." "You know why?" "Because they're afraid of me," I said. "Because they love you," she replied, stepping closer. "And they've seen what he does to you." I raised an eyebrow. "What does he do to me?" She smirked. "You smile when you think no one is watching. You actually look relaxed. Sometimes you even laugh. Do you realize how rare that used to be?" I thought back to the nights when it was just Logan and me in my penthouse. He would cook. I would sit at the counter and pretend to work while watching him. The way he moved around my kitchen like he belonged there. The way I felt safe enough to put my phone away and forget about everything for a little while. "When did you know?" I asked her quietly. "About him and me." "That night at my wedding," she said without hesitation. "On the dance floor. The way he held you. The way you let him." I looked at my reflection again. I was terrified. "You still are," she said. "But now you're doing something about it." A knock sounded on the door. Daniel's voice filtered in from the hallway. "Sienna, we need to take our places. They're ready to start." 2 minutes, she called back. She placed the bouquet in my hands, a simple arrangement of white roses and soft greenery. "Julia," she said, meeting my eyes again. "Are you ready?" I took a breath. A real one. Deep. Steady. "Yes," I said. "I am." She smiled, her eyes shining. "Then let's go." We were not in a hotel ballroom this time. Logan and I chose a vineyard estate outside the city. Rows of green vines stretched in the distance, and the ceremony area was set up on a small hill with a clear view of the sunset. White chairs formed neat lines, and a simple wooden arch stood at the front, decorated with flowers and soft fabric that moved gently in the breeze. Family and close friends filled the seats. Some were from my old world, some from my new one. Business partners from the legal side of my empire. People who knew my name, not because they feared it, but because they respected the work I had been doing these last months to change everything. No one was allowed to bring trouble here today. This was not a negotiation, not a strategy meeting, not a show of power. This was my wedding. The music started, gentle, slow, familiar. Sienna walked out first as my maid of honor. Her arm looped through Daniel's for a moment before she took her place at the front. Then it was my turn. I stood alone at the start of the aisle. I could feel the eyes, the whispers, the expectation. It felt like that first wedding again, the day I walked into a ballroom with Logan's hand in mine and shocked everyone. Only this time I wasn't hiding. This time I wasn't pretending. The doors opened and I stepped forward. The sunlight touched the white fabric of my dress. The breeze moved through my hair. Every step echoed in my chest. People turned, some with wide eyes, some with smiles, some with tears. And then I saw him. Logan stood at the altar in a dark suit, the fit perfect over his broad shoulders and strong frame. His tie was simple. His slightly long hair was brushed back. A hint of ink showed at his wrist where the cuff pulled back. But it was his face that stopped everything. He looked at me like I was the only person in the world. Everything else faded. The seats, the flowers, the sky. All I saw was him. For a moment, I remembered the night I almost let him walk away. The night I told him we had crossed a line and tried to push him back into the role of employee when we both knew that line was already gone. I remembered showing up at his place, admitting I was wrong, telling him I didn't want to be the Mafia queen who chose power over love anymore. Now, I was walking toward him, choosing him in front of everyone. Halfway down the aisle, my legs almost gave out, not from fear, but from the weight of how far I had come. Logan's eyes softened. He shook his head slightly, just once, like he knew exactly what was going through my mind. "You're okay," his look said. "Keep walking." So I did. When I reached him, he held out his hand. I placed mine in his. This time, he did not let go. The officiant said a few words, but I barely heard them. My heart pounded too loud. "Today, Julia and Logan have chosen to make their commitment official in front of all of you," he said. "They have written their own vows." That part had been Logan's idea. "You first," he had told me when we were planning. "You're the boss, remember?" Now, standing in front of him with everyone watching, I suddenly hated that idea. "Julia?" the officiant prompted gently. "Whenever you're ready." I cleared my throat, tightening my fingers around Logan's hand. Speaking in a negotiation room was easy. Giving orders was easy. Threatening a man who owed me money was easy. But this was hard. I looked up into Logan's eyes. "When we met," I began, my voice quieter than usual, "I hired you to protect me." A soft murmur moved through the guests. Logan's lips twitched. "I told myself that was all you would ever be," I continued. "My bodyguard, my shadow, the man who stood between me and every threat. I built rules in my head, lines that couldn't be crossed. Not with you, not with anyone." My throat tightened. I swallowed and pushed through it. "You were always there," I said. "Behind me, beside me. You watched doors, streets, rooms. You saw people before they saw me. You noticed everything. I thought you were here only because of my name." I paused, taking a breath. "But then," I said, my voice steadier now, "I started noticing you too. The way you always made sure I ate when the day was too long. The way you stepped between me and any hint of danger without thinking twice. The way you looked at me when you thought I wasn't watching." His eyes softened even more, warm and full. "And on the night of my sister's wedding," I said, my chest tightening with the memory, "I walked into a ballroom holding your hand. I told everyone you were my date to keep them from asking questions about business. I thought it was just a move. Just a tactic. Fake." I shook my head slightly. "But on that dance floor, when you told me it didn't feel fake to you, I realized something I never said out loud. It didn't feel fake to me either." For a moment, my voice wavered. I blinked back the sting in my eyes. "You changed the way I see my own life," I said. "You made me want more than survival, more than control. You made me want peace, safety, a home, not just for my sister, for myself." I took a breath, giving him a small, honest smile. "Logan, I promise to stop pushing you away when I'm scared. I promise to let you protect me not just from enemies, but from the worst part of myself. I promise to stand beside you, not above you, not in front of you, but with you. As your partner, as your wife." I squeezed his hand, my voice steady for the last words. "And I promise that no matter what our pasts look like, our future will be built on something simple and unbreakable. The fact that I love you, completely, every day, in every room, in every life I could have chosen. I would choose you." He exhaled, like he had been holding his breath the whole time. The officiant nodded. "Thank you, Julia." "Logan?" Logan looked at me for a long second before speaking. His voice was deep, but full of emotion. "When your father hired me," he began, and a small wave of surprise moved through the guests. "I was not introduced to you as a bodyguard, not at first. I was a ghost. I watched you from a distance. Outside clubs, outside restaurants, outside your building. My job was to make sure nothing touched you." My heart flipped. He had told me this before, but hearing it here, in front of everyone, made it feel different. "You didn't know who I was," he said. "You walked into rooms ready to fight with your bare hands if you had to. You looked like you didn't need anyone. But I saw the way your shoulders dropped when you finally got home. I saw the way you checked on your sister, even at 3 a.m. I saw the weight you carried." He swallowed. His fingers tightened around mine. "So when I finally met you face to face," he continued, "and you hired me directly, I already knew something that you didn't. I was never just a bodyguard. Not to myself. To me, you were always the person I was meant to stand beside." My vision blurred slightly. "I watched you hold an empire together," he said. "I watched you protect people who didn't even know they needed protection. I watched you give up things you wanted just so your sister could have a normal life. And I fell in love with you before I even admitted it to myself." He took a breath. His eyes locked on mine. "When you brought me to your sister's wedding and called me your date," he said softly, "it was the first time I let myself hope. The first time I thought that maybe, just maybe, you could see me as something more than the guy who scanned doorways and carried a gun under his jacket." Some of the guests shifted, but no one looked away. "I know what your name means," he said. "I know what it used to mean. I've seen the danger. I've seen the worst nights, the hardest decisions. But I've also seen the woman you are when the doors are closed. The woman who falls asleep sitting up with a laptop on her lap. The woman who pretends she doesn't care about birthdays, but remembers everyone else's." He smiled, small and full of warmth. "Julia, I promise to protect you, but not just as a shield. I promise to protect your peace, your joy, your right to be happy without always looking over your shoulder. I promise to never treat you like you're made of stone. You are strong, but you are also human. With me, you never have to pretend you're not." My eyes filled. I didn't wipe the tears away. "I promise to stand with you as you build a life that's cleaner, safer, better than the one you inherited," he said. "I don't care how hard we have to work to do it. I only care that we do it together." He lifted our joined hands, his thumb brushing my ring finger. "And I promise that no matter how many rooms we walk into, no matter how many people whisper your name, you will always be just Julia to me. My wife, my home, the only woman I will ever love like this." A small sound moved through the crowd. Soft sniffles, shaky breaths, quiet smiles. The officiant nodded, voice gentle. "Thank you, Logan." He turned to us. "Do you, Julia Rossi, take Logan Carter to be your husband?" I looked at him, my heart steady and sure. "I do," I said. "And do you, Logan Carter, take Julia Rossi to be your wife?" "I do," he answered, eyes never leaving mine. "Then, by the power given to me," the officiant said, smiling, "I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride." Logan smiled, slow and real. His hand slid to my waist. I lifted my face to his. When his lips met mine, everything else disappeared. It was not a first kiss full of doubt. It was a kiss that felt like we had finally arrived where we were always meant to be. Safe, chosen, loved. The guests clapped, some cheering, some wiping tears. I heard Sienna shout something loud and joyful in the back. But it all felt distant. Because all that mattered was the way his forehead rested against mine when we parted, and the quiet way he whispered, just for me, "Mrs. Carter." I smiled. "Don't push it, Carter. I'm still Rossi, too." He laughed, low and warm. "Fine, Mrs. Rossi Carter." "That's better," I said. We turned to face everyone, hands still joined. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like the center of a battlefield. I felt like the center of a family. Our family. The reception was held under strings of lights, with long tables filled with good food, good wine, and loud voices. Children ran between the chairs. My uncles argued over card games in the corner. My aunts danced before the band even started. Sienna pulled me into a tight hug at one point. "You did it," she whispered. "You actually let yourself be happy." I hugged her back. I had help. She glanced at Logan across the room, where he stood talking to Daniel and two of my closest legal partners. "You chose well," she said. "He loves you in a way that makes everyone else feel calmer." I raised an eyebrow. "Calmer? You used to walk into a room and people got quiet because they were scared," she said. "Now they get quiet because they respect you. There's a difference." That difference had a lot to do with the man who now stood at my side in every room. Not as an employee, but as my equal. Later, when the band started a slow song, Logan found me near the edge of the dance floor. "Dance with me, Queen," he said softly. I smiled. "We already did that once. It caused trouble." He stepped closer, extending his hand. "This time, it only causes gossip." "Do you like gossip now?" I teased. "I like anything that ends with you in my arms," he replied simply. I took his hand. We walked onto the dance floor. People moved aside again, just like they had at Sienna's wedding. Only this time their faces were different. Warm, happy, curious in a way that wasn't sharp or judgmental. Logan pulled me gently against him, one hand at my waist, my hand on his shoulder, our fingers intertwined. "Déjà vu," I murmured. "Except this time," he said, leaning in. "I'm allowed to kiss you as much as I want." I felt my cheeks heat. "Is that a promise or a threat?" "A promise," he said, grinning. We moved slowly under the lights, the sky darkening above us. I rested my head near his shoulder, letting myself relax completely. No enemies, no deals, no lies, just us. "Do you ever miss it?" he asked quietly after a while. "The old life, the chaos." I thought about it for a moment. About the noise, the power games, the adrenaline of dangerous nights. About the feeling of being untouchable, above everyone, feared and respected as a weapon. "No," I said honestly. "Not when I have this." He exhaled, relief in his voice. "Good. Because I like this version of us a lot better." "Us?" I asked, smiling. "Yeah," he said. "Still can't believe I get to say that." I pulled back enough to look into his eyes. "Get used to it," I said. "You're stuck with me." "That was always the plan," he replied. He kissed me again, slow and sure, in the middle of our families, our friends, our new life. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was pretending to be someone softer than I was. I didn't feel like I was faking normalcy. I felt like a woman who had fought hard for her own happiness and finally claimed it. Much later, when the lights were lower and most of the guests had gone, Logan and I stood alone near the edge of the vineyard, looking at the sky. He slipped his arm around my waist, pulling me against his side. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey," I answered. "Do you remember the first time you took me to a wedding?" he asked. I laughed. "Do you remember the faces people made when I walked in holding your hand?" "How could I forget?" he said. "Half of them thought you lost your mind. Half of them thought I was letting my guard down," I said. "They were right. I just didn't know it yet." He kissed my temple, his lips lingering there for a moment. "The first time you took me to a wedding," I said quietly, "I shocked everyone." "And the second time?" he asked. I turned in his arms, facing him fully, my hands resting on his chest. "The second time," I said, my voice sure and calm, "I married you." He smiled. "And for the first time in my life," I added, holding his gaze, "I feel completely, absolutely safe." He didn't answer with words. He just held me closer, under the quiet sky, on the land that would now hold our memories instead of our fears. Giulia Rossi, Mafia queen, wife, woman in love. I had walked into a wedding with the one man no one expected, and in the end, he became the only man I would ever choose.